There's three things that will increase the effectiveness of you working your dog on an artificial bloodline. Okay, one, obviously collecting the blood from a deer, getting your hands on some deer shoes, which we're about to show you how to put these together, and then the third would be, you know, the reward at the end. My preference would be some part of the deer, you know, something other than food for the reward. And there may be, you know, a handful of guys out there that you know, that might real quickly say, hey, well, that deer's following you. You know, you're out there walking around, he's your best buddy. You know, he's obviously following you, okay? And my response to that might be, well, you know, I don't know. I can't prove it one way or the other, but I don't think that's what we ought to focus on. I think what we ought to focus on is that you're working your dog. You're trying to progress your dog to go from A to B, tracking something. I personally think he's actually following the hooves and the blood you lay on the ground, but again, that's, at the end of the day, it's probably not that relevant. What's relevant is you're working your dog. All right, so obviously you got to collect a pair of deer hooves, back legs, whether it's an old deer or a young deer. You know, does it matter? And my first response to that would be age. Obviously probably wouldn't matter, but how the deer was actually harvested, I think, in my opinion, would matter. A deer that knows he is hit and hit good is going to secrete an odor different than a live, hot, healthy deer. And that's how these dogs stay on these lines. And so with that being said, my first choice would be a deer that was not, did not expire out very quickly. Okay, it was less than you know, the shot was less than par, versus a deer that was out before he even hit the ground. Okay, deer have an interdigital gland between their hooves, and that gland is going to secrete fear, adrenaline. It's going to secrete odors different than a hot, healthy deer. Okay, so when you're hunting in areas where the deer density is high, and you have to wait 24 hours before you go in and to track a wounded deer, chances are those hot, healthy deer crossed over that same line that wounded deer you're going to be tracking went. Essentially, all we're trying to do is recreate that same wounded deer scenario, okay? And when I say wounded deer, a deer that was hit less than par. So we've harvested these legs from a deer, from a white-tailed deer, and now we're going to show you how to secure them on to these deer shoes, okay? It's pretty easy. You can go in tight here. But you want these hooves, you know, down far enough so when you walk, the actual hoof is hitting. Tie strap. Voila. There you have it.